Hi, my name is Kathy Donavan, and I am the Program Quality Director for District 40 Toastmasters. I'm here to talk about TLI and COT chair training. This is the key to building better Toastmaster leaders, not only the ones that attend, but you. Our agenda for this webinar is to talk about logistics, roles, sessions and the trainers. We're going to talk about the people who attend and the evaluations that come out of it. We'll also talk a little bit about registration and recording the results. We won't have a Q&A today simply because this is a recording, but you can call with questions. Just look on the D40 website and look at the contact information, and you can contact your district officers. The logistics for TLI and COT chair training events, you need to find a venue. The district logistics manager can help. We now have that role helping and putting together a list of all the venues. So when you find a venue, contact them and let them know you're using it. They can tell you if they have any history on it, and you can send them the results and your opinions about the venue once you get done with your event. That helps the next person. You need to find a location with multiple rooms. Typically 5 or 6 rooms will do. You'll see in a minute how the sessions are organized, so you'll see how many rooms you'll need. The overhead and projection and audio equipment are also a part of the logistics. We've had people say, you need to bring your own projectors, and that's not really the case. District 40 has projection equipment, and you need to contact the district logistics manager to see what they can do to help get that equipment there. Sometimes they'll have equipment, but you might need to bring a thumb drive because you can't get on their network, or sometimes you'll need to bring your PC because you can't use their thumb drive on your network. So it's always a good idea to know exactly what is in the venue, and if you need to have a logistics manager appointed, have somebody do that for you, take that over, and they can run from room to room if there's a need. If you have 5 presenters, odds are one of them may have a technical issue, and you don't want to be the one that they're running to because people over in the food area might have a question for you. So it's all about delegating and having other people lead these different areas. That's going to make it easier for you. You'll need to think about refreshments. If it's a Saturday TLI, you might have breakfast and lunch. If it's something that's happening after work and it's a shorter club officer training, then you may need dinner, and the budget might be a little bit different. We'll talk about that in a minute. Parking. Is there parking? If there's parking, should you send a map ahead of time? If there's on-street parking, is it safe? If there's parking in a parking garage below the building, can you get vouchers? Because we will reimburse for parking. Sometimes the company who has a parking garage will reimburse, and they will give us vouchers. Make sure whoever you appoint as your logistics person understands how all that works, and people will need directions. And sometimes GPS doesn't work, so the more information they have, the better. Promotion. When are you going to promote it? Is the success times going to come out before your event? Or is this something that's going to have to go out through email? If it goes out through email and only 42% of the people open it, which sometimes we don't even get 50% open it, what is your backup plan for promoting it? Your area directors and division directors can help. Printing. The district will help printing unless you get printing costs taken care of by the companies that are helping to sponsor your clubs. Deliveries. Do you need to have food delivered? And if you do, where's the ramp and where's the elevator to get to it? Because they might have a roly-poly cart and need to get in. There's a lot of logistics involved, and I recommend you find someone else to do that for you. Pre-training event roles. Now that you've got a venue, now that you've got a date, and by the way, you should do your date before your venue. The date is important. That's when the Toastmasters can get there. In the past, sometimes we've let the venue tell us when they could have it, and that's sort of backwards. The district is going to be paying for it, and that's where the district program quality director comes in. We can pay for venues if we need to, so that you can have them at a time that's convenient and the space that you need. The district program quality director will help you set the budget. They're the person you talk to. They will give you an idea of what the budget should be. Then you call them with the estimate and they will approve it. The District Education and Training Committee work ahead of time to put the building blocks of the sessions together, gather information, evaluations, topics that people want to see in the training, and they work all year round with the program quality director. They meet at least once a month in person. They drive from all over the district. There's a lot of work that goes into this. The district TLI chair is in charge of all the TLIs, and the district club officer training chair is in charge of the club officer training, and that not only includes the 6 months where the club officer training has happened for all the officers in the summer and the winter, but also for the new clubs. They are trained actually outside of those periods. And so the district's club officer training chair has a lot of work to do to help coordinate things. They are your subject matter expert. They're your mentor. The district public relations manager can help you get the word out. They've got the names and addresses of all the folks in the community that you're putting this out to. TLIs, those are district-wide typically. They're large. The last TLI we had last weekend, all 9 divisions were there. The division directors, area directors can also help you. Their role is to make sure that the club officers all get there, and they should make sure they are accounted for. The area director should know if an officer is going, which one he's going to, and if he's not going to any of the training, why not, so that we can get another event established if it's a matter of scheduling. The club officers, their input to these events is to tell us what it is that they need and when they need it. The roles for your team involve recruiting people to help, and this is a leadership opportunity. It can be an HPL or a Pathways project for you, and it can be a leadership opportunity for them as well, because they can get their own team. Somebody for the food might ask somebody to bring water, someone else to bring beverages, someone else to do the ordering, maybe even pick up the food and bring it, if that's the way you do it and you're not having it delivered. Your role is to share their job description, set expectation with them, whatever roles that you feel you need to have. One person could play a couple of roles for you. Just make sure that they're not overextending themselves. Have a few meetings with your team. It can be by phone. It doesn't need to be in person. I wouldn't rely heavily on emails because they can be misread, and I would start early. Have a backup plan and have a backup for you. You should have a backup plan for your presenters. Make sure that you understand what to do if there is a piece missing. Just think to yourself, what if this wasn't able to occur? What could I do? The food, the cleanup, the introducers is another group. Greeters, the greeter is highly underutilized. The greeter can stand there and make sure the Toastmaster walks in the door, feels welcome. Oh, I'm in the right place. Ever felt that way? And they can hand them the agenda. Tell them where the registration desk is. The sergeant-at-arms can also make sure that everything is going smoothly. The registration desk needs to be on their toes and on their A game so that they can help folks find the information that they need and get registered. The registration is so important for us because we have to get that recorded at Toastmasters International in order for clubs to get credit for the Distinguished Club program. So the registration is really, really important. We're going electronic on the registration. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but your role is so important. Your role is to make sure everybody knows their role and does their role. The sessions are set by the District Education Committee under the guidance of the Program Quality Director who meets with them. The Program Quality Director is the only one that can make grant exceptions. The programs are 8 hours approximately for the TLIs, 4 hours for club officer training. And we need to follow the District 40 standards approved by the District Executive Committee. And those are in a publication, and you'll be given that when you're designated as a training event chair. The materials for the sessions, except possibly a district officer presentation where they're talking about announcements, upcoming district events, sharing a story or two, or just information and congratulating somebody. Maybe they'll do an award. All those materials will be on the D40 website, and you are responsible for getting them into the presenter's hands. You can either send them the link or you can send them the material via email. We want to have it on the D40 website so it's consistent, so everybody across the district is getting the same quality material. You are able to move officer sessions for an officer with multiple offices. Just don't cut any sessions out or add anything unless you get it approved again by the program quality director. Here's the look at the TLI. The moments of truth there, session 1 in the blue, that's everybody in the room. And then you have some officer training and successful clubs. Officer training is in the green, successful clubs is in the blue. And we've split it up so that people can come to a TLI that are not an officer. And they have a full day there. They can do other things, or they could check out. If they're not an officer, they could check out being an officer. We highly recommend that to people who are thinking about taking on an office. They could sit in one and see if that's something they would like to do. During lunch break, we have everybody get their food, and then we come back and we talk about the most important pathways, at least in this schedule we do. And then the VP, PR, and secretary are there in session 4. Let's say you know that the only person coming for your whole event has the role of vice president public relations in one club and secretary in another. Well, you could take the secretary and the treasurer and flip the two. Just exchange the boxes. You know, secretary is done in session 3 and treasurer is done in session 4 now. And that wouldn't hurt anybody else at all. And that would help that one officer make both of those. But if they can't make both of those, let's say they're president, treasurer, and sergeant at arms in 3 different clubs. We're not going to say, well, you know, you weren't trained. We're going to ask them to get the handouts for the one that they didn't get to, perhaps send an assistant or someone else to the other one, and we're going to give them credit for their offices. It's hard enough to get to one without getting to 5 or 6. Typically, when people are in that boat, it's because they're in a temporary role. I had to take on vice president membership this year because somebody moved out of town, and you know, that made my 3rd officer role, and I did the role and I've done it before, so I could teach it. So when I go to these things, you've got to keep things in mind and keep the person in mind. Mentoring beyond the club is something that the vice president of membership should be interested in, which is why we don't have vice president of membership and mentoring beyond the club in the same session. So there's a lot of thought that goes into this. Here's the club officer training, and we had to have it shorter, and it typically is shorter. It's mainly for the officers. We don't really invite a lot of other people to this unless, again, they want to check out the office. The event starts usually about 5:30, so that people getting caught in traffic that may not get there until 6 haven't really missed the core of what they are coming for. We have the secretary first, and we talk about the all-important pathways. We've stuck the treasurer creatively there in with pathways because that role is not a base camp manager. The president, VPE, and the secretary are the base camp managers. Using the websites was something that people told us they needed, and this is shortened so that people can go to an event on a weeknight. Some people just don't have the Saturdays to come to training. The trainers, the list will be provided. As I mentioned, they're evaluated and vetted. They are folks that we feel comfortable that can present. If somebody's not on the list, get a recommendation from a district officer. They need to be high caliber because people are disappointed if they come to training, especially a new member, and they don't see something that they want to aspire to, then they will think, why am I here? Scout for them early. Don't wait till the last minute. If you have trouble getting someone, then contact your district officers. They can give you connections, but they're not going to appoint them for you. You're in charge of appointing them. So you would schedule them, get the materials to them, you would talk to them beforehand, get their introductions, have a gift for them, tell them thank you. Officers and members' roles, they need to come. The better the event, the more likely they'll come again. The club officers are the main focus of the club officer training. Invite the district officers for support and enthusiasm, though. The club officers need to know the district officers feel it's important enough to come. Members and guests are the main focus of a TLI. That's actually supposed to be a membership building event, but we don't use it that way yet, but we're working on it. It's a recruiting tool, and it's a perk of being a member. It is part and parcel of your subscription to Toastmasters International that you are able to come to these events for free, get fed, get information, network with people, and go back a better person, back home a better person than when you started. Officers attend sessions for the roles they will be playing for the next 6 months. We've had officers register and say, hey, I'm the president, but that was for the prior 6 months. So make sure that they know what their role is for the next 6 months. That's who we need to record. The officers are voted on once a year, except for a few clubs. They're voted on twice a year. The office can be for 6 months only. That's going to go away when Pathways rolls out fully in 2020. All the officers are going to be one-year roles. So just make sure they understand that the people at the registration table remind them of that. They need to take as many handouts as possible, take info back to the club, don't just hoard it. They need to evaluate each presenter, and the general session will send them an evaluation afterwards via a link. Those who can't do that for whatever reason can be given some paper. You'll need to make sure that they get reminded again and again. They need to know their club area and division and the role for each club at registration. They'll need your help for that. You may need to have a list, or you may need to have some information that goes out so that they know to bring it. But without that club area and division, we can't actually give them credit for their training. The evaluations are going digital. We've been using QR Square, which they can just throw their phone across the QR Square and up pops the survey. Or we can send them a link after the conference is over. If you print the QR Square, that's part of your printing that would be on your agenda. You can do it ahead of time and work with our webmaster, Michael Pope, for next year. He can help you get the QR Square figured out and into your printing. It's important for improvement that we get these evaluations. They say that if you get 80% of them back, then you've got a good summary of what happened. Select the topics that you want to see on these evaluations. That's where some of these came from. We had about 20 topics and we prioritized them. We actually looked to see how many people said certain topics were needed. And we've got a couple of years to go through all those topics, and then we're going to be looking again. So make sure everybody has an opportunity to hear multiple times that we need their evaluations on everything from the food, the general evaluations. We can give you a sample evaluation if you want to see what one of them looks like. So we're always looking for input, so if you have an input on that, that would be great. Registration should be manned for all periods. It's great if the registration table also gets a look into the main room and that there are sessions there so that people in the back can quietly register, but then the people who are registering can also experience the sessions. You may or may not have the venue where you can do that, but it should be someone who's there for whatever reason. There might be an emergency and someone comes in and says, I need this, or you might need to call an ambulance. The person at registration should stand out the door and flag the ambulance down and let them know what door it comes in. There's all sorts of reasons. So the registration person doesn't even need to be a Toastmaster. And sometimes they prefer that. They sit there and do homework or play on their iPhone or do whatever. And they're just happy to sit there and talk to the occasional person who walks by. You need a printout of all the officers for the club officer training portion of the TLI or for the entire COT, and that helps you with knowing what division and area they're in. If you need help doing that, then you can contact your public relations manager or program quality director, and they will help you get that printout. Or your division director has the division. But again, like I said, we had 9 divisions out of the last TLI last weekend. Neon is a new tool. It's a mobile registration app. It's connected to Eventbrite, which is what we use for our meetings. You can actually pull up Neon and you can scan the ticket that Eventbrite sends you in an email when you register, and boom, you're registered. Once it scans, it knows you're there, and that's all we need. The other thing Neon does is if you don't have that ticket printed with the QR code so we can scan it, Neon has a way of alphabetically going through a list with your finger until they find you, they poke your name, and voila, you're registered. The other thing it can do is it can add a person. So I highly recommend that we all use Neon. that we get this electronic stuff going. There's too much paper going on, and there's too much time being spent after the TLIs looking at things to record everything. It's not good for Toastmasters to spend hours and hours and hours on Administrivia. They should be out building their next speech. D40 has the Eventbrite account. You can get a head count ahead of time. You can keep watching it grow so you know what your food budget is going to be. You can claim deadlines for food, but you really need to allow walk-ins. And walk-ins a lot of times could be 10 to 20% of your count. We had 175 on a Sunday a week before TLI, then it went to 200 2 days before, and it ended up being 240 that day. Some people just don't know that they're going to be able to come to the last minute, and we don't want to turn anyone away. So that backup plan, what I've done in the past is I've had donuts or something in the car that I knew my family liked, and if we had more people than expected, I went out to the car, brought them in, and served them. If I didn't need them, I took them home. So that's just one tip. D40 is coming up with standard questions. The ones today are not sufficient for the registration, so if you have any suggestions on that, I'm all ears. But we don't have enough officer roles in there. Sometimes people have 3 officer roles, and they have had 2 on the Eventbrite, and so then we've got things on paper again instead of all in that nice tool. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I hope that this helped. If it didn't, give me a holler. Kathy Donavan. My email is toastmasterkathy@outlook.com. Thanks for watching.